Hello, Internet, and welcome to another Pandemic Open Mic Monday. This is the seventh in the series, and we got a wonderful lineup of folks already in the queue. So far, all wonderful guests we have had in past weeks, musicians and poets. And we'll see who else is coming. I never quite know because because the invitation goes out to people who have just signed up and people who have signed up before, and then also to random musicians that I'm always hoping will join us. So I never know quite what the lineup is going to be, but it's always been great. And if you want to sign up to the next one in the future, then the little ticker there beneath my face tells you where to find that. davidrovix.com/POMM is where you can sign up to the next one, and where you can view this one as well if you're not viewing it already on some other platform, which you probably are if you're listening to my voice right now somewhere, such as the Facebook pages of Popular Resistance or Cable Community Radio, or one of my various Facebook channels, or YouTube, or other social media, Twitter, VK, LinkedIn. So I'm the host, David Rovix, and I will do what I do generally and kick it off with a song of my own, to be the first guest, so to speak. And I have a new album out, by the way, on Bandcamp. It's called Notes from a Failed State, which is a solo recording project that I just did weekend before last. It's a solo acoustic thing at the studio. And this song is not on it because I just wrote it a few days ago. They say we're being violent, I heard a woman say as she hid behind a building to wash the gas away, the years of quiet desperation. Who saw it till this week? Nobody's listening. How can we speak? They say we're being violent whenever we are not standing in the park with a bullhorn, waiting to get shot once a traffic law is broken. When we're in the street, that's called civil disobedience, which they gas and shoot and beat. They say we're being violent, damaging their things, all these buildings owned by banks, from which such misery brings. The cops come with their tear gas, with their bullets in our backs, shooting people running away. That's how that they attack. They say we're being violent as they drive around in tanks, as the riot police are rioting and the president gives thanks. I give thanks to the moment and the peace of mind that came when they lit the precinct and it went up in flames. They say we're being violent, she said before she went, but the pasta that my kids eat so I can pay the rent, while I don't know if they might come home alive at night, is so much more violence than this dumpster set alight. They say we're being violent. That's my contribution for the duration of this open mic, and with no further ado, moving on across the continent from where I am to all the way to the east side, we have with us Peter Paton. Peter Paton, hello.
Hi, David. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
And thank you for the song.
And you're out there somewhere in rural Maine, are you?
I am.
Wonderful.
I currently live in Rockland, Maine, which is about halfway up the Maine coast. It's a coastal community. I spend most of my life, my career, inland further on a farm.
Lovely.
Town of
Beautiful
Troy.
part of the world.
It is.
What you got for us today?
Three little short pieces. Maybe it's not time for three.
Oh, yeah, we got time.
First one is titled Campfire Syndrome. Have you ever hung out at a campfire? You know, friends in a circle around a fire, watching the flames, keeping warm. Behind you, you see bigger than life shadows of yourself, and you might see ants and other bugs running out of the burning wood trying to escape the heat. They are confused, scared, scampering around, tripping over each other. Well, something like all of us here on planet Earth, which is overheated and on fire. Just like the ants, we are suffering from a campfire syndrome. We are all scampering around, tripping over each other. One thing our campfires and burning planet have in common is both fires are stoked by humans. And all the fires are casting big shadows of us stoking the flames. And that's campfire syndrome. Second comment is about the effects that the pandemic is going to have on us. It might anyway. There are different kinds of post-traumatic stress disorders, PTSD, and we have to be careful that we don't allow misunderstandings and mixed feelings to come between us and others. We have to just have to realize that communicating is much more difficult when you're wearing a mask, and we have to stay a certain distance from each other, which is a good thing to be doing, but we have to be careful. When we, I work in a supermarket myself, and so I see a lot of people and have to communicate with them, and I'm glad I do, but it's not easy. And to communicate through a mask and without getting too close to each other. There is one crack in this shield that people need to wear. And that crack is the eyes. We have an opportunity here to develop closer eye contact and to, the eyes are supposed to be the window of our soul. And this is a great opportunity for us to see the silver lining in this cloud and to acknowledge and develop this eye contact. And this is an election year, so it's a year that the eyes have it. Now, speaking of elections, I have one more thing. There's this little fidget spinner. It's really a very relevant toy, although they're hardly available anymore in any local stores. Maybe because, well, people know that it is relevant. Particularly in the election year, because when politicians put spins on their stories, the whole story gets hazy and you can't see the details, just like with a spinner. And these stories can be spun in either direction, whichever way they want to spin them. And when the spinning stops, you can see the holes in the stories. And quite often, each angle of the story has a hole to it. And if spinning is allowed to get out of control, the spinner can lose its bearings. And I think there's some food for thought there. Thank you, David.
Oh, thank you.
That's
Wonderful.
it for me.
Wonderful. The spinner. I feel so much better already. That was very therapeutic. That's great. Thanks so much, Peter. Come back, huh?
I will. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Peter Paton in Maine. And we got coming right up from across the other side of the ocean in England, we have Tim Hollins back with his wonderful accordion. Fantastic to have you back, Tim.
Hi there, David. Thanks for having me back.
Oh, thanks for joining us again. What you got for us?
Well, I've got a song that is a song of kind of solidarity, and I think that's what we need a lot of at the moment. It was started about 35 years ago, 1985. It got finished off last week.
Great.
And it's kind of the snapshots of one woman's life, someone who I met. And I need to just change over my microphone. Okay. It's got a new residence, actually, just in the last 2 weeks. I suddenly thought, wow, this song suddenly feels slightly different. Okay, I'm just going to change over. So yeah, let's have a... It's a song about a friend called Rosa, and it's just a whole series of snapshots of her life, really. And it starts in 1980 and it finishes a couple of weeks ago. It's just called Rosa. It's night time in the back streets of the town in El Salvador. Dark, the death squad creeps up to the shanty house door. They smash down the door, grab the young man, beat him down to the ground with the butt of a gun. You'll find him in the streets with no hands and no eyes in the morning. Another killing, just another killing, just another killing in El Salvador. Next day in the morning heat, word soon spreads around. Rosa hurries through the dusty streets to the place where the body was found. She breaks through the crowd, trembles with fear, stares down at the body, can't hold back her tears. Now her husband's been killed, like so many thousands before him. Another victim, another victim, just another victim in El Salvador. White House, Washington, behind closed doors, Reagan is talking to congressmen about aid to El Salvador. Look, I know they're all killers, we must help them stay. They're the only ones down there who'll do as we say. And think of all our money tied up in that god-awful country. Another country, just another country, just another country, El Salvador. It's night time in the back streets of the town in El Salvador. Through the dark, Rosa creeps away from the shanty house door, out of the town in the dead of the night, up to the mountain before the first light, to seek out her comrades, join in the fight for their freedom. Another fighter, she's another fighter, another fighter for the freedom of El Salvador. Daytime in the back streets of a town in El Salvador. Rosa strides through the morning heat, back home to the shanty house door. After 12 long years of the mountain nights, the killing, the dying, the blood of the fight, she's home to build peace and justice in El Salvador. A better future, there's a better future for the people of El Salvador. 2009, in the back streets, town in El Salvador. Rosa strides through the dawning heat, up to the voting house door. But today is the day a new struggle begins, for today is the day they finally win. After 500 years, there's victory in El Salvador. A day of victory, just a day of victory, just one day of victory for the people of El Salvador. Lockdown in the back streets, the town in El Salvador. Rosa glances at the photograph, lovingly pinned to her door. She looks in his eyes, she aches with the pain, but she knows in her heart he did not die in vain. Now there's work to be done for the people of El Salvador. Another teacher, she's another teacher for the children of El Salvador. Another teacher, she's another teacher for the future of El Salvador.
Beautiful. There's some kind of harmonics going on in there too, and the higher notes, and I don't know if that's just like some kind of audio distortion, but it was really beautiful as well.
I have
like
no idea
what was going on there. It was a very unusual sound for an accordion. I have no idea what was making that, but that was
well, bass notes there,
Maybe.
and low register there. We did some sound checking with friends on playing across Zoom and other platforms, and I worked out that the lower sound comes across much better than the higher one, which is more sort of insistent. That's better for a street march or a demo when you're trying to reach the other side of the street and everything.
Yeah, wonderful instrument. It's definitely good for demos. It's you can at least compete with the cars with that.
Absolutely, yeah. This one has been on many.
Yeah, excellent.
And we have a
so
few
much.
coming up in the next couple of days.
Oh yeah, what's going on?
We have plenty going on here. I'm not sure if that's coming off over in your media. It's really taking off here now. I don't know if you saw the young people pulling down a slaver's statue in Bristol yesterday.
In Bristol, yes.
Fantastic. And of course, the commentators have been saying, we don't do it like that. We have committees and debates and arguments. But people have been claiming, they've been demanding that for the last 25 years.
Yeah.
And it's never happened. And, one day yesterday, a whole group of people said, let's do it. And they've just done it. So it's gone.
Wonderful. And there are protests going on all over the place, because we've been hearing about London and Bristol, but there's in the news here, but there's
a lot in Birmingham where we are here, which is the second city. Yeah, we have a local one in the next couple of days. Big one in the city centre over the weekend. So yeah, it's really and of course all the issues that you're all dealing with, we've been dealing with for just as long, and our black populations, our black communities have been dealing with in just the same ways and just the same campaigns going on over many, many, many years. So it's kind of pulled it all to a head.
Yeah, that's great. Good that there's the protests going on all over the world. It's fascinating how many. One
of our black sportsmen, the young guy, said actually the pandemic is a pandemic of racism, and we need a pandemic of protest, which is quite outspoken for a young multimillionaire.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. But then again, it's that's becoming more common too. Yeah. Kind of outspokenness among a whole wide cross section. Yeah, fantastic. Thank you, Tim.
Thank you very much, David. Pleasure. Looking forward.
Sorry, I cut him off there. I didn't mean to. We're staying on that side of the Atlantic now to hopefully have a better Wi-Fi connection than we had last week with Stephen McRandall. Great to have you back. Actually, it looks better. The picture looks, well, there's the background is more kind of, I have faith in this Wi-Fi connection this week. Are you in the same place?
We're in the same place. I hope it stays up this time.
I think the gods of Wi-Fi are with us this week. I have a feeling.
I hope so. There was a big march last Monday. Actually, here thousands of people gathered in O'Connell Street for George Eliot. Which was good to see. I didn't make the one last Monday. There was another few over the weekend. I went to one of those. It was just a few hundred down in there. This time there was some up at the embassy, the American embassy, and some in the center of the city. I went to the one in the center of the city.
Fantastic! And there were thousands of people.
There was on the last Monday. At the weekend, there was only like a few hundred at the protest on O'Connell Street. I'm not sure how many was at the American embassy. I reckon people would be getting screened out as they walked up to the embassy, for breaking the curfew or breaking the distance you were allowed to walk. So I just went to the one in the city centre. But
fantastic.
We
good to hear.
We have empathy, but it's horrendous. But it looks like it's possible, defunding the police, setting up a different system,
Right, it can be done. It's in a supposed democracy. People can do those kinds of things potentially, theoretically.
Yeah, we created these things so we can demobilize them. I can start again. We don't. It would be lovely to see.
But then the only problem is that capitalism will presumably collapse once they don't have the armed enforcers of the law to evict tenants that don't pay the rent and to, do all the other things that enforce property laws and trespassing and whatever else. It's they maintain such inequality. So it's a fascinating moment to talk about defunding the police, because what's going to happen if we do? I really look forward to that prospect. But
yeah, the police are there just to defend the rich,
right,
from the taking what's theirs. You know what I mean? It's like that's their job.
That's their job. To protect and serve stuff was just propaganda, and now we're now it's all kind of getting exposed.
Protect and serve the corporations. That's what they're there for. That's not protect and serve the people. That's a very different thing we could do with it. I often wondered what it would be like to have a police force on your side. Can you imagine that? You know what I mean? That were actually your buddies. You know what I mean? They weren't people you feared or, you had to hide from or whatever,
Yeah,
but anyway,
absolutely.
I have no story. Last week you were confused about my stories. My stories are just autobiography. They're short little clips from my life.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no, they're fantastic. Everybody loves them too, by the way. And I don't know if you see all the comments on the various platforms, but you're a very highly praised writer in this particular open mic, Stephen, as well you should be. You do another chapter for us?
Yeah, this is the first open mic that I've been able to get a platform on. Thanks a lot. This is wonderful. And
there's something very wrong in this world. Many things.
Anyway. Here's another wee clip. It's just a wee short one. It's called the dehumanizing factor. It's from Belfast during the Thatcher years. Peter drove with a reckless speed, which betrayed his 18 years. As they went over a ramp, both Manus and he bounced off their seats and their heads hit the roof of the car. The two barely knew each other and were driving into Andersonstown, a Republican area of Belfast, to buy a little hash. Peter had bought the car with compensation money from an accident and told Manus the accident had damaged his brain. Peter told Manus to grab his steering wheel as he let go of it to comb his hair. Manus threw the car into the wrong lane and said he couldn't drive. Peter quickly grabbed the wheel again, and Manus figured there wasn't that much wrong with Peter's brain. But the damage to his own was indisputable. A Brit patrol on Finnegy Road North was busy questioning the occupants of a black taxi, so that for a half a second, the two lads thought they might get through unhindered. But on their approach, the taxi was released and they were waved into the side. "We were a cert for a pull," said Peter, and Manus nodded agreement. Peter did not get out of the car or wind his window down. He sat there sullenly. He sat there sullenly in the driver's seat, his face the artist's expression of insolent youth. Manus cursed his situation and his company, and his unmouthed prayer directed at Peter was that he should not choose now to prove his manhood. Perhaps Peter heard Manus, or perhaps he just saw sense. When the soldier shone his torch through the window, Peter wound it down. "License," said the uniform, and Peter produced it. The uniform radioed the license details through and had Peter get out of the car to open the boot. Peter did as he was told, and Manus sat alone. Peter stuck his head back in the car to pull a lever that would open the bonnet of the car, and as he did, he said, "I told them you're going away to Newcastle tomorrow, and we're just up here to collect some money you're owed." It seemed like a complicated story, but some story other than the truth was necessary, and Manus took note of it. The uniform tapped the window with the muzzle of his rifle. Manus wound his window down. "9, said the uniform, and Manus told him. "Get out of the car," said the uniform, and Manus got out of the car. Inside the uniform was someone of perhaps 18 years. He was very nervous. On the wall behind him was a well-painted image of a man with long hair, wrapped in a blanket, crawling on all fours. Below the picture it said, "The dehumanizing factor." The capital H in the word dehumanizing referred to the shape of the maze prison buildings. Members of the Provisional IRA were protesting in H Block at the time, looking for their political status to be recognised. Their form of protest was to refuse prison clothing and food and to smear their own excrement on the walls of their cells. Some of them were democratically elected members of Parliament. Some of them starved themselves to death, looking for political status. Manus was not nationalist, but it was hard to ignore the mounting tension felt in the city at the news of each successive death. The figure in the portrait on the wall had a tin of shit-coloured paint poured over its face. The shit-coloured paint had been poured on by British soldiers. Perhaps by this particular British soldier that was now questioning Manus. Anyway, this particular soldier was now shitting himself. "Address 2A Lisburn Road." "Where's that in?" "The bottom of the Lisburn Road." "Is that low, mate?" The soldier meant, "Do you live below the Mater Hospital?" But due to his accent, Manus did not understand the question. "Right at the bottom, number 2A. Where's that?" The soldier spoke quickly, with his rifle pointed at Manus's chest. He feared an attack from Manus, or the shit-smeared portrait on the wall, or anyone in this Catholic Republican area. "Is that below the Mater?" Fear expressed itself in the soldier's voice and movements. Manus could see the human being inside the uniform, and shaking his head in explanation, he managed to break through with, "Fuck's sake, mate, I've no idea what you're asking me." The tension broke. They were, after all, only two human beings. Manus followed up with, "I'm not that long back from England myself." The soldier pointed his rifle away from Manus. The soldier forgot his official line of questioning then and asked Manus where in England he had been. "Lancashire." The soldier came from the south of England and was a total stranger to the north of his country, but he nodded in eager recognition anyway. "I was working in the mill there, but I got laid off." It was a common story, the young worker, eager but unable to gain employment. Totally unapplicable to Manus, but he played the part when necessary. It's getting as bad over there now, the soldier said, and Manus agreed. Then the soldier said, any chance of getting a job over here then? But it was a bit of a joke question because neither of them considered Belfast to be an employment capital at the time. The only job going over here is yours, and I don't want it. The soldier laughed at that too, and then they parted. Manus driving off to buy some hash. The soldier squatted in someone's garden below the defiled portrait of a starving figure wrapped in a blanket. As Peter and Manus drove off, Manus gave the soldier the thumbs up sign. He raised his thumb only enough for the man inside the uniform to see. He did not want anyone else in the area to see that he offered any kind of support to the uniform. He did not wish to offer any kind of support for the uniform. But the man inside the uniform, in another time and place, they might have stood together in a bar, played a game of pool. That's it. Short story for today.
Oh, fantastic, Stephen. The way you weave the personal and the political is, absolutely fantastic. Thanks so much for joining us. And that sounded great the whole time. Didn't even break up for a second. That's good.
At one point, I'm reading this off a wee thing and I'm scrolling it down, and the scroll down wouldn't come down. So oh, fuck no.
I know how that is.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, yeah. It worked. Thank you. See you again.
See you again. Nice one. Thanks a lot. Thanks for your work.
Thank you. Stephen McRandall. And then skipping back across 8,000 miles or so to the west from where Stephen is, Mike Marker. It's for me. got a phone call coming in.
So, David, that is the traditional instrument. That's a mouth bow, and it's a traditional instrument of the Plains people, the Lakota people. And I'm really glad to be here with you again. It's Monday, and I was at the demonstration on Friday in Vancouver. I've never seen anything quite like it. In my younger days, I went to a lot of demonstrations, and never a crowd as large as this. There were thousands, maybe no one could estimate the exact number. Probably 8,000 people is the closest that I can come. 8,000, 9,000, 10,000 people. I don't know. The entire waterfront was just filled with people, and everyone. It was very peaceful and a very serious event. And one of the things that they talked about, of course, central is the Black Lives Matter movement, central to all of that, of course. But one of the things that is happening, is particularly in the United States, from Canada, what it looks like is the United States is a very, very dangerous country. Matter of fact, I remember Pete Seeger mentioning that to me at one time. This is why the United States is so dangerous to the rest of the world, is because they don't really understand and pay attention to the rest of the world. And Mr. Trump certainly is a prime example of that. And so as I've been watching what's been happening, and I heard an interview on the CBC, a woman who was a Black professor in Boston, and she looks out her window and she says, I'm seeing tanks. Our city is now occupied by the army. And I thought, well, racism is not just about Black people. In Canada, we talked about the Indigenous people and the ways that they're treated, and the deaths of so many Indigenous people at the hands of the RCMP and the police. the missing and murdered Indigenous women, all of these things that are a part of the Canadian dark heritage of colonization. But it's not just about, colonization and the occupying of someone's city seems, I began to think more broadly about it. And then I thought I might do this song to sort of bring it into the personal again. Utah Phillips was always trying to convince me that these songs are very deeply personal. And so here's a song by Phil Coulter that I worked out on the guitar. And it's about coming back to your hometown, about coming back, and then what do you find? Your hometown's been occupied. This could be in South America or Central America. Whenever the tanks roll through the streets, what happened in Chile, the overthrow of Allende, and this one comes particularly. The town is Derry. My memory, I will always see the town that I have loved so well, where the school played ball by that gas yard wall, and they played in the snow and the smell. Coming home in the rain, running down the dark lane, past the jail, and down behind the fountain. Those were happy days in so many ways, in the town that I loved so well. I returned, my eyes did burn to see how a town could be brought to its knees by the armored cars and the bombed out bars, and the gas that hangs on every breeze. Now the army's installed by that old gas yard wall. The damned barbed wire grows higher and higher. With their tanks and their guns, my God, what have they done to the town that I love so well? Music's gone, but they carry on. The spirit may be bruised, it's never broken, and their hearts are sad. They can't forget about tomorrow and peace once again. 'Cause what's done is done, And what's won is won. What's lost is lost and gone forever. And I can only pray for a bright, brand new day for the town that I love so well.
Mike Marker, gorgeous, gorgeous. I mean, your beautiful resonant voice, but that guitar arrangement is just spectacular.
Thanks, man. But I have to tell you something also. I didn't want to spend too much time introducing the song. You know, that's another thing too. Philip used to say to me, Marker, a really good song should not be able to be played. A good folk song should require some introduction. But if it's a really bad song, then it probably requires too much introduction. So you have to have just the right amount. You know, if you have to explain it too much, in other words, he was saying it's too poetic and too flowery and too often abstractions. And at the same time, if it's too obvious, then it lacks that subtlety, that artistic thing that he said. Really, a good song should have specifics, details about places and people, and you should have to tell people a little bit about what it means and all of that. So there's a backdrop to this song. When I was learning this song many years ago, I lived in London, and I was playing in the clubs, and I had a very fine life in those days, and enormously embarrassingly successful, I suppose. At the time, I wasn't very good, and people liked me an awful lot, and so I was really lucky. But there was a bar, and 6 blocks away, and when I was there, it was in 1979, and they bombed the bar. 6 guys were dead, and I could have been in that bar. So the problems of Ireland are not just in Ireland, and the violence and the troubles and all of that, it's all part of colonization. And I just thought, well, you know, when I heard that song, when I first started to learn that song, I just realized, well, this could be anyone's. This could be anyone's town, and to find your town when you come back, your home, occupied and colonized, essentially. So I wanted to do that song for you and sort of connect it to a number of other larger things. And
yeah, it connects very well.
Demonstration and the indigenous people here in Canada. So that's all very important. And actually, there's quite a strong connection between the experiences of colonization of indigenous people in North America and the experiences of the Irish in colonization. We don't make that connection very often, but it's quite strong, really.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also there's some great songs about that. My favorite is Jim Page's song Heroes and Survivors, about the connection there. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, Mike. See you soon, I hope.
Okay, for sure. I'll be there next week.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. Mike Marker in Vancouver, BC. And here, moving right along, Neil Kahan. Great to have you back.
Great to be back. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. What's been happening in the past few days in your neck of the woods? Nothing. I'll bet.
There was something on Saturday in Leeds that I don't have all the details on, so it's probably not responsible for me to say much more than it appears a group that wasn't the local Black Lives Matter chapter led a rally using their name. And I'm not sure of the details beyond that, so I don't really want to speak on that. But there is going to be a march led by them on Sunday.
We're broadcasting on social media and not spreading disinformation. I don't know what we're doing here, but What do you got for us today?
So, for some reason, I've been thinking about Watts a lot recently. I can't imagine why that would be.
Can't imagine.
So I wanted to share a poem by Watts resident, Louis J. Rodriguez, and it's called Watts Bleeds. Watts bleeds, leaving stained reminders on dusty sidewalks. Here where I strut alone as glass lies broken by my feet and a blanket of darkness is slung across the wooden shacks of Nostra Colonia. Watts bleeds, dripping from carcasses of dreams where despair is old people sitting on torn patio sofas with empty eyes and children running down alleys with big sticks. Watts bleeds on vacant lots and burnt-out buildings, temples desolated by a people's rage, where fear is a deep river, where hate is an overgrown weed. Watts bleeds even as we laugh, recall good times, drink and welcome daylight through the broken windshield of an old Impala. Here is the Watts through me, from classroom to classroom, not knowing where I could fit in, where I learned to fight or run, where I zigzagged down alleys, jumped over fences, and raced by graffiti on crumbling factory walls, where we played between boxcars, bleeding from broken limbs, where years later we shot up cargo in the playground of our childhood. Watts bleeds at as the shadow of the damned engulfs all the chinga of our lives. In the warmth of a summer night, gunshots echo their deadly song through the silence of fear, prelude to a heartbeat. Watts bleeds as I bled, getting laid off from work, standing by my baby's crib, touching his soft cheek and fingering his small hands as dreams shatter again, dreams of fathers for little men. Watts bleeds and the city hemorrhages, unable to stop the flow from this swollen and festering sore. Oh, bloom, you trampled flower, come alive as once you tried to do from the ashes. Watts, bleeding and angry, you will be free.
Brilliant. Wonderful to hear Watts bleeds coming from England. It's just wonderful. Thank you, Neil.
Okay, thank you again for having me. It's a great night.
Oh, it's good. Really excellent. Variety. Good. See you soon, I hope.
See you next time.
And then moving back over to this continent, and most specifically, not far from the epicenter of the current everything you're hearing about, Per Andreasen.
Hello.
Great to have you back. Hey, what's happening?
What is happening? Well,
I know it's not a
we're
small
abolishing
question.
the police, so that's good. 5.5 hours from Minneapolis, and I do feel like I'm a little bit in a different world.
They're not abolishing the police in your town?
Not quite. No, the police in East Grand Forks, town of 7,000, are still going to take in $3 million in city funds this year, apparently. So,
I mean, hearing one of those city councilors from Minneapolis, it sounded kind of like they were just going to get rid of the city police and invite in the state police.
Yeah, that would I've got a lot of mixed feelings. A lot of like, well, we'll wait and see, and hopefully, hopefully they aren't crazy enough to think that just bringing in the same problem in a slightly different shade will address things. But wouldn't be the first time. I know that there's lots of good community organizing. I know that that our weak mayoral system means that Jacob Frey's sort of mealy-mouthed insistence that police are relevant or appropriate doesn't mean a whole lot. I know that there are a lot of genuinely progressive voices on the city council, and that there are a lot of genuinely progressive, very, very smart voices in the streets. And And yeah, so there's that. Now, I mean, last week we had a march in Grand Forks that was broken up by the cops claiming that there was a busload of agitators coming in to turn it into a riot.
The police were believing this right-wing propaganda?
No, they didn't believe it. They just said it. And used it to clear us out of the streets here. But it was a few hundred people in Grand Forks proper, so that's not nothing.
That's a lot for Grand Forks. But the really bizarre thing about this outside agitator theory is it's happening everywhere at once. So
oh yeah. Where are they all coming from? Where did they get all these buses? Where have they been?
Occupy Wall Street has 2 buses, but that's only 2 buses.
Yeah.
So I don't know where the rest would be coming from.
They're putting a lot of miles on those 2 buses, I guess.
What you got for us today?
So this is, as Mike was talking about, this is a song that needs a little bit of context. It's one of 2 songs I've written in the last week. The other song is it's a song for Minneapolis, and it's good, but this one feels more important. And there is one recorded lynching in Grand Forks history, and it was brutal, and because it was a lynching, of course it was brutal. And about 4 years ago, there was a campaign to get a memorial placed at the bridge where Charles Thurber was hung, and it didn't happen. And so this is Memorial for a Blacksmith. Sit and write this poem comes the rattle of a train. Sounds the dancing specter of a hideous stain. On this river valley, on this city I call home. Since they left Charles Thurber swinging all alone. His crime was being black and passing through. Spotted alone with a white woman or 2. That was enough, they grabbed him on the spot. Shackled him to a broken vomit-stained cot. If you listen to the river or the wind in the leaves, you'll hear Charles gasping, "Mama, I can't breathe." Unable to sleep, Charles sat in his cell. A mob outside gathered at the midnight bell. He was a strong man, a blacksmith by trade. Against him the whole city stood arrayed. If you listen to the river or the wind in the leaves, you'll hear Charles gasping, "Mama, I can't breathe." They dragged him to the bridge, but there they disagreed on who should get to hang him, so 2 nooses were decreed. They turned him toward the state line, freedom in his eye. Pushed him off past a bottle, watched him die. If you listen to the river or the wind in the leaves, you'll hear Charles gasping, "Mama, I can't breathe." There's no memorial where Charles died. No gravestone to remember him by. But the children of the lynch mob didn't move away. Their children's children live here still today. If you listen to the river or the wind in the leaves, you'll hear Charles gasping, Mama, I can't breathe. If you listen to the river or the wind in the leaves, you'll hear Charles gasping, Mama, I can't breathe.
Good, good, excellent. A song for Charles Thurber.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try and resurrect that old campaign up here because it seems like something concrete and local that I can do.
Definitely, and there should be a statue for every one of those horrible incidents. You know, in Germany, it's very common. You find those stolpersteins, stumbling stones, every time somewhere, you know, someone lived somewhere where they were deported and sent to their deaths, etc.
When I was writing the song, I thought about your song, Stumbling Stones, and just the importance of remembering the harm that we've done to other people, and the ways that we have failed as communities in the past is important, because if we erase those, then there's no way for us to build a more just future moving forward.
It's like having amnesia.
Yeah, we just do the same thing over and over again.
Per Andreasen, thanks so much for joining us again. Come back soon.
I'll be here next week.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Take care.
Take care.
And coming right up, we have somebody who actually has not been on the open mic before, which is especially exciting. Tooth and Nail. Hey. You there, Tooth and Nail? Yeah. I think we got a little delay, but yeah, wonderful to have you. What part of the world are you in there?
Smack dab in the middle of nowhere, Western Pennsylvania.
Western Pennsylvania, around the Allegheny National Forest.
I'm not too far from. I'm kind of right in between Erie and Pittsburgh. It's about an hour and a half drive either way, right off the interstate, right along the Allegheny River.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Real small towns, real small people.
And beautiful mountains and lots of trees.
For now.
Until
the fracking and stripping. But I'm happy to report that even in this tiny little corner of the world, that there are people raising a holler about the police.
Excellent. Wonderful. And there's been protests and other activities happening. Sorry about the delay and stuff, but what's been going on?
Yeah. A couple of the larger towns or smaller cities, depending on how you look at it, around me have had several different demonstrations of varying size and degree. So far, minimal arrest as far as I'm aware, but and relatively successful, peaceful demonstrations in the main streets of the little towns around me.
Great. What you got for us today?
Well, I'm going to play for the one of the songs that I wrote not too long ago. It's going to be on my upcoming album, which I haven't settled on a name yet. I'm thinking it's going to be called Let's Start a Fight. But I'm a big history buff, and I decided to make a song out of a select few of the history lessons that I was never taught in high school. So this one is called Timelines of Tragedy. Driving down the road, I saw the great big sign, Make America Great, I'm sublime. Then I started thinking to 1955, when blacks knew their place and women stayed in line. I think of 1968, when my life was the game. Unlike the Germans, we learned to hide our shame. Unarmed people stacked 500 high. Being Vietnamese was their only crime. Timelines of tragedy, that's what fills our history. Take a look back and you'll see our timeline of tragedy. Now it's 1970 on the KSU. Call the National Guard, they'll know what to do. While the students protest, as it was their right, the wannabe soldiers lined up their sights. 1984, we found HIV. Reagan didn't care as they had agreed. It's just the gays and addicts, the cure is a disease. Is that the goal they wanted to achieve? Timelines of tragedy, that's what fills our history. Take a look back and you'll see our timeline of tragedy. In 1992, Bush pardoned all their crimes, sold weapons, bought some coke, the Reagan era times. He claimed he didn't know, but his diary showed his lies. What's more American than funding genocide? And in 1994, Slick Willie did us wrong. He signed the biggest crime bill to show us he's so strong. 3 strikes you're out, unless you're the rich. Then the system's still your little bitch. Timelines of tragedy, that's what fills our history. Take a look back and you'll see our timeline of tragedy. March 2003, we fought in the sand, made our enemies and made our demands. 20 years later and we're still over there. There must be mounds of cash for a quick war to last. There's more to the story, more than I could say. The evils they commit are still rising every day. So if you take a thing from this protest song, don't let them hide the proof of all their wrong. Timelines of tragedy, that's what fills our history. Take a look back and you'll see our timelines of tragedy.
Yes, indeed. Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much. And what do you got going on the internet during the pandemic? You doing much more live streaming than usual? It looks like you got set up with a good mic and stuff, even a pop filter.
Yeah, I had enough already since I do all the recording for my albums myself.
Great.
So I also got lucky enough that the box that I use to record actual doubles as an interface. But yeah, I've done a couple one other live stream. I'm going to be doing another one on the 21st, but that's not a music one. That's going to be a more of a conversational thing, a bunch of other musicians. And
where can people find that?
Other than that, it'll be on a Facebook page called Punk Rock Storytellers Unplugged.
Great.
So if you follow my Facebook page, Tooth and Nail Band, be able to keep up with stuff on there. I'm also in another band now. There's some talks of changing the name, but for right now it's called Roadaways. And we're going to be a full band. And basically we're going to take folk back from all the elevator music composers. is the
Excellent.
goal.
Excellent goal. Thanks so much for joining. I hope you can come back.
I hope so too. Thanks for having me.
Take care, tooth and nail. And yep, as people are aware, sometimes there's delay, this buffering thing, but it's okay because the audio works better that way than if we were trying to not have the delay. And the delay is, it happens. And it's especially the case in rural parts of the U.S., as you may have noticed if you have been watching this open mic regularly. Whenever we have guests on from rural parts of the U.S., that's the kind of connection you can expect. This is the United States of America. And speaking of the United States of America, staying within this country, but moving just a bit further to the east, back to New York City, Joel Landy. Great to have you.
Hi, David.
Here
Hi,
again.
David. Hi, everybody.
With the distant sounds of New York traffic and New York birds in the background.
Yeah, this is June 8th. So around here, June 8th means New York City is reopening for business into phase 1. Now, there are other parts of New York State that are already into phase 2. So with phase 1, can you hear the construction going on next door?
They're back to constructing buildings again, yes?
Yeah. So that has started. A lot of protests going on around New York City.
All over the place, huh?
In fact, I'm on the 8th floor, right on Queens Boulevard, across the street from Borough Hall. And so my daughter took the camera to the balcony, and she was recording the marching that was going on. So now my daughter is a videographer for the movement, I'm proud to say. 12
Excellent.
years old.
Excellent.
Now, the good news is that the curve, you've heard of the flattening of the curve of the COVID-19. You want to get that down. And New York was hit hard, really fast, but unlike some states, social distancing and masks are important. Places like Florida and Alabama are having terrible times right now because, the governors haven't taken a forward step in that regard. But the good news is the curve is really flattened down. I don't hear as many sirens in the street as I had in the past few weeks. Now, with all the protesting going on, what's that going to do to the flattening of a curve? We don't know.
Or the sounds of sirens. Except now it's not so much sirens as much as like helicopters. At least around here, it's helicopters. They're always, you always, if you need to know if you want to know where there's a march going on, just look for the helicopter. That's
look for the helicopters.
Yeah.
I wish the police wore masks around here.
They don't.
No, they're not. Protesters are. We're out there. We're across the street. But I really don't see the police wearing masks. And, that's something that needs to be considered. Can I show you a T-shirt?
Yeah.
This is my favorite T-shirt.
No child is born a racist. Excellent.
Yeah, and the song I'd like to do was written by Matt Jones. Now, Matt Jones
wonderful.
Was an original member of SNCC and rode in the South, writing songs and participating, paying the price that any hero of that battle paid. And he lived in New York, and some years after it, he wrote this song, and it went like this. When I was young, I fought for freedom. When I was young, I fought the Klan. Who would have thought I would still be fighting 30 or 40 years down the line? When I was young,
I fought for justice when I was young. I fought for peace. Who would have thought I'd still be fighting 30 or 40 years down the line? Freedom, still fighting for freedom. 30 or 40 years down the line. When I was young, I fought for unions. When I was young, I fought the votes. Who would have thought that I would still be fighting 30 or 40 years down the line? When I was young, I fought for housing. When I was young, I fought for jobs. Who would have thought that I would still be fighting 30 or 40 years down the line? Freedom, oh, freedom. 30 or 40 years down the line. When I was young, I fought segregation. When I was young, I fought Jim Crow. Who would have thought I would still be fighting 30 or 40 years down the line? When I was young, I fought for children. When I was young, I fought for love. Who would have thought I'd still be fighting 30 or 40 years down the line? Freedom, still fighting for freedom. 30 or 40 years down the line. Freedom. Freedom. 30 or 40 years down the line. 40 or 50 years down the line. 50 or 60 years down the line.
Excellent. Matt Jones. I remember
Matt Jones, yeah. And he told me once, you got to sing the song that they don't want you to sing. And that includes even among the people on your side, which sometimes, but he wasn't afraid of that. Oh, one of the things I want to mention, I haven't been mentioning that I've been hosting a television show called Songs of Freedom since 1996.
And that's, is that online as well as on community access?
Yeah, it's online. So if you go to the website singfreedom.org, all the episodes and viewing times are there. I'm on in the boroughs of New York City, but it's on the internet now too. So
singfreedom.org.
And I'd like to extend an offer. If you ever record any of these sessions with people's permission, if you'd like to have me play it, I am more than happy to do that.
Oh, that's a great. Yeah, they're all archived actually on the Discussions with David YouTube on playlist, and can be downloaded as well. I can send you MP4s. That'd be great. Yeah,
But we got to
I
get
think,
the permission from the people who play, But that being said, I'd love to feature a lot of, I mentioned in the comments, it's so good to be sitting here with my teachers.
there's been a lot of high quality commentary on the week's events on all of these open mics, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks so much, Joel, for being a wonderful part of that commentary.
Next week.
See you next week. Yeah. Excellent.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
And then hopping across the pond again to Manchester, Tony Harper.
Hi, David.
Wonderful to see you. Hey.
You all right?
Yeah.
How's
How are you? And how's Manchester? What's been happening?
We had a huge protest in town. I've not been going to the big ones. There's some local things in the parks and stuff, but because of my age, I've kept out of the big ones. But there's been a few people go. I think about 3,000 or so in Manchester, mostly young, angry, and looking for statues to pull down, hopefully. But not yet. I mean, there's been a big debate over this. If you heard about the Bristol, the stuff in Bristol, Edward Colston, who was a 17th century slave trader, and there's been arguments about whether the statue should be there for years and years and years, and finally they've done the right thing and dumped him in the.
Yes, a little bit of direct action.
Yeah. And it's ignited a whole debate about, because there was a big, I don't know whether you remember it, there was Oxford University have got a big statue of Cecil Rhodes there, and there was a massive debate about that and what he was doing there, and I think they tried to pull it down physically at one time and it was stopped. So it's reignited all that sort of discussion, and obviously debates about the police and stuff.
Yeah.
You were saying before when you're talking to, I think it was Per, about the Minneapolis Council decision to either what they're going to do, scrap the local police and bring in the state police.
Well, they're talking about defunding the Minneapolis police, but it's not at all clear what that will mean. I mean, if they were following the recipe of the wonderful radicals who have proposed defunding the police, that would be great. But it sounds to me, at least from some of them, that what they mean by defunding the local police is just bringing in the state police. I don't know. I mean, it just is very unclear, but it's a new idea, I think, for many of them, although, of course, the idea has been around for a long time.
So the funding, if they pull the funding from the police, the national government won't fund it. They'll just bring in a national police force.
Well, no, it's police are mostly locally funded, but then there's also state police, and the state police are usually, they're on the highways or they're covering little towns that are too small to have a police force.
Yeah, they have that system in Germany and things like that, don't they? Have two different police forces? Yeah,
and each of the 16 states has their own police force in Germany, and they don't necessarily talk to each other for historical reasons. Yeah.
So all that's been going on. So there's been a lot of. I've been doing quite a bit of stuff online. We've got new stickers out, which is a good one.
Excellent.
But I need loads of them. I've not got enough. But
capitalism is sick. Yes.
Right. I'm going to do a
what
song.
You got?
It's a song I wrote at the beginning of the pandemic. When all the food was being cleared off the shelves, and there was a little bit of a paranoia about it. It's still there, but it's called A Modern Time Blues. So. Don't crowd me out, she cried as we stood there in the queue. I could feel the excitement, the hope and anxiety too. Everybody had a mask on, they were looking after themselves. but there ain't no hand wash or toilet paper on the shelves. And it's a taste of the modern times blues. It's a taste of the modern times blues. We don't hear any more of the flood victims, but the rivers, they're still flowing. Don't feel the effects of the wars, but the refugees keep growing. The system's in crisis, and we know what the boss has got to lose. But we're stopped by a bloody virus. It's a taste of the modern times blues. It's a taste of the modern times blues. It's a taste of the modern times blues. It's not what either you or I would choose. It's a taste of the modern times blues. The Tories, they just splashed the cash, but it's a dent on the cuts they made. The homeless, they'll still be struggling as the wages don't get paid. It's easy to work out where the money's wanted and who has the greatest need. Just strip it off of the bankers and the landlords and those of a similar creed. It's a taste of the modern times blues. Yeah, it's a taste of the modern times blues. The levels, they're still rising, and now the people are too. The market's in a panic as the stocks turn to red from blue. Johnson and Trump, they spout all their nonsense, and if it's really true, then we're hit by a bloody virus. It's a taste of the modern times blues. It's a taste of the modern times blues. Yeah, it's a taste of the modern times blues. It's not what either you or I would choose. It's a taste of the modern times blues. It's not what either you or I would choose. It's a taste of the modern times blues. That's it.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great commentary for this week.
It was a sharper commentary earlier on in the debacle.
But you updated it anyway. It all sounds like it was written yesterday.
Yeah, it was hope the people will. Well, they are now. But
yeah.
There's an interesting thing someone just sent me as well. That I read a book about the Paris Commune a couple of years ago now. It was a really good book about it.
What's it called?
It's just called the Paris Commune, I think. 1871, or the history of the Paris Commune. Donny Gluckstein, I think. Yeah. And of course, there's a good tradition of pulling down statues in revolutionary moments, in upsurges. And the Vendôme column, I think it was called, was pulled over in the middle of Paris, the height of the revolution, by I think an artist at the time, who I think later got imprisoned. But yes, it didn't end well, the Paris Commune, as we know.
No.
But these good traditions of debates on what statues are for and who they're for, and yeah,
absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us, Tony.
Enjoyed your song, your Minneapolis Burning song, and I did a little version of it on the banjo at another open mic in
great.
Manchester, which went down okay.
I want to hear your rendition.
And lots of people like it, and I've been sending them the words and putting links to your stuff on it. So
super.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
Tony.
to see you again, David.
Great to see you. Come back.
Yeah, I'll come back with some up-to-date songs, hopefully.
Please do. Or old ones are also welcome.
Perhaps a bit of banjo.
Yeah, that too. Definitely. Haven't
Cheers,
had any
David.
banjo for the whole session this time.
Yeah.
Take care.
Look after yourself.
You too.
Take care. Bye now.
Bye-bye. And then, last but not least, Stephen Clark in
Hi,
Glasgow. Wonderful. I was just wondering where you were, and there it says right on the screen, you're in Glasgow. Fantastic. How's Glasgow doing? What's been happening there?
Well, there's been, as you will have seen, there have been protests in relation to the Black Lives Matter campaign all over the UK. Glasgow did have a fairly sedate one. The numbers were interesting, were substantial, but unusually everyone seemed to be socially distancing, and we're having a fairly calm protest. Glasgow, is it what the angle on it from Glasgow is that although Glasgow historically was not directly implicated in the slave trade, which other cities in the UK had been, like Bristol and Liverpool, Glasgow's corner of the triangle in that trade was in the tobacco side. So though whereas in Bristol they had statues erected to the philanthropy of people who had been directly involved in the slave trade, Glasgow's is slightly more tangential, because a lot of the streets and the statues and the larger buildings in Glasgow commemorate people who were involved in what they called them in Glasgow. They called them the tobacco lords, who were merchants who grew wealthy on the tobacco angle corner of that triangular trade. And so though they didn't directly traffic slaves, Glasgow wasn't involved in that, it still benefited substantially from that business, from that trade. And the current way that's manifesting it in this campaign is the suggestions that some of the major streets in the city and landmarks in the city, which have been named after these guys, streets like Buchanan Street, Oswald Street, a few of the other major thoroughfares in the city, should be renamed. Although, from what's interesting, there is a guy, a professor at Edinburgh University, who is a person of colour, and he says they should not rename them, but they should append historical tags to anywhere where the names are cited, because if you rename them, you're effectively you're banishing the history, you're erasing it. And whereas at least if it's there with some commentary, then there's a memorial to it, it's recognised, it's acknowledged, and there's some degree of recognition to it, and it's not just wiped, that the history is not just erased. So it's an interesting one, because and while I may have there may be a song somewhere in that for me, I haven't quite found my way to it yet. So I'm thinking about that one.
What you got for us today?
Okay, this is a song I wrote, like your like Tony's song. This is a song I kind of repurposed this a little bit. It was originally written back about 2009, after the crash, the financial crash, when everything, we were being told, the papers and the news media were just telling us everything was going to hell. The world was going to, and it kind of was, kind of has, but it's not. It's never quite as the media was doing its thing of obsessing about a particular topic at the time, as it has done with coronavirus, to no good effect, to the point where they saturate people's attention span with a whole lot of overfeed of information, to the point people eventually go, yeah, whatever, just, yeah, sure, coronavirus. And So people get worn out, they get fatigued by the information. And so this song came out of that. So I recently changed it around a bit and added or adapted a verse specifically to refer to the Scottish lockdown is continuing, because the local government, the Scottish government, is taking a much more prudent approach to lockdown. So this song is from lockdown, still in lockdown, and it's called Rack and Ruin. I apologise in advance if my accent makes any of it difficult to decipher. There's pollution in the atmosphere, poison in the sea. They tell me that the polar caps are shrinking. They've modified the genome in the vegetables we eat. Christ knows what's in the water that we're drinking. You tell me there's a storm building up ahead. Dark days and even darker nights are coming. Devil take the hindmost, dog will feed on dog. We'll see what kind of race the rats are running. So come on, all you jolly boys, all ye bonny girls. It really doesn't matter what you're doing. In Govan or the Gambia, or all around the world, we're all gone to rack and gone to ruin. We're all locked up and locked down, obliged to stay at home, trying hard to keep our social distance. Feel like sheep or goats or cattle, we're waiting for the cull, hoping that the herd has some resistance. And when we venture out to buy a pint of milk, we're looking at each other with suspicion. We can tell 2 meters distance, even when our eyes are closed, a special kind of 20/20 vision. So come on, all you jolly boys, all you bonny girls, it really doesn't matter what you're doing. In Partick or in Paris, or all around the world, we're all gone to rack and gone to ruin. There's not a scrap of meat left on the carcass now. Every cut they make goes closer to the bone. Don't be poor or old or homeless or looking for a job or trying to raise a family on your own. Then the patronising bastards pat you on the back and they tell you that we're all in this together. The day I look around and see them in the boat with me, I know we're really in for stormy weather. So come on, all you jolly boys, all you bonny girls, it really doesn't matter what you're doing. In Cambodia or Cambuslang or all around the world, we're all gone to rack and gone to ruin. They say the world is in the lavy, we're going down the pan. The next wave will surely put us under. We're all barely treading water and going down again. We're drowning, is it really any wonder? So bugger the begrudgers, even though they say we're doomed. Gather round, you jolly boys and bonny lassies. Here's a health to one and all, it's time to get another round, while we all still have strength to drain our glasses. So come on, all you jolly boys, all you bonny girls, it really doesn't matter what you're doing. In Hell or Hull or Halifax or all around the world, we're all gone to rack and gone to ruin. So come on, all you jolly boys, all you bonny girls, it really doesn't matter what you're doing. On your arse or on your elbow or all around the world, we're all gone to rack, we're never coming back. We're all gone to rack and gone to ruin.
Fantastic, Stephen Clark, wonderful. Do you have activities going on online that people can tune into as far as musical
yeah,
stuff?
I'm doing a set tomorrow evening, GMT time. It's about 10 o'clockish on a Facebook group called the Wurzel Bush Folk Club. I will put
Wurzel.
Wurzel. I will put that in there. I will, rather than spell it, I will type it into the chat window.
Excellent.
If I can get my mouse to move. Yeah. So Wurzel
Bush. I just, yes.
I know that I've got an extra Q in there. That's not required. Wurzel Bush Folk Club.
Yeah. Well, once people know how to spell Wurzel, we should
Yeah,
be good.
there you go.
That's
It's a variety of vegetable, which
is it? What is a Wurzel?
Wurzel is kind of like it's kind of turnipish, I think, rutabaga type of thing. Apparently, sort of that kind of genre of vegetable.
Wonderful. And is that unique to Scotland? I've never heard of a Wurzel before.
It's a particularly it's a sort of west country of England, I think, more. So one of the side effects I found, you've started it yourself, is that folk music has expanded beyond our normal horizons, because normally I'd be playing in local sessions or local folk club, and that would be within a sort of 5-10 mile radius. But we're now participating in things considerably further away without actually having to leave the comfort of our home, or discomfort of the garage, as it happens to be in my case.
Right.
So that's happening in Facebook tomorrow evening.
But it ends up being like it's still a little like playing a local show to play on a Facebook page, isn't it? Because you end up with the locals who like the Wurzel Bush Folk Club, and it's interesting.
That's right. But, and I've done a couple other things online, but there is an astonishing variety of music online, and I think the only sad thing is you can't listen to it all.
Well, that's for sure. Yeah, same problem with the books in the library, and that's
absolutely
been a long-standing problem. Yeah. Thanks so much for joining us, Stephen.
Well,
I hope you can come back.
Yeah, sure will. Thanks very much.
Yeah, take care.
You take care too.
And that has been that pretty much wraps up, unless somebody pops in there who has signed up and hasn't popped into the queue yet. That wraps up the 7th weekly Pandemic Open Mic Monday, and please be encouraged to sign up for Pandemic Open Mic Monday number 8, which will be a week from today. You can sign up at davidrovics.com/POMM, and anybody with a song or a poem or a rant or anything else is very welcome to sign up. And it may or may not be apparent from the lineup, but if you are not a white guy, then we want you in the lineup even more. But it's also anybody who wants to sign up will sign up. So it's not nothing against white guys, but the diversity in the lineup is always welcome when people sign up. So it's an open mic, so it's going to be what it is. And if you look at my YouTube statistics, you'll find that my audience is what it is, and who knows why. But that was a wonderful bunch of commentary on the past week. I thought some very high quality songs and poems and short stories, and I hope you all enjoyed it out there, whoever you might be. And I hope you will tell other folks about this open mic and sign up and get them to sign up for it too, because we want more people in this open mic. Otherwise it wouldn't be an open mic, And all these open mics are archived in video form in various places, including the video section of the Facebook pages of Popular Resistance and KBOO Community Radio, and on my YouTube page at drovics, youtube.com/drovics, and then look for the discussions with David which is the playlist, which is where all these live stream broadcasts tend to be. And I'll maybe form another playlist just for the open mics so they're easier to find. And it's also, you can also find them all in podcast form if you search for This Week with David Rovics on any podcasting platform. And I'll be here online every weekday this week, interviewing folks on the Fifth Estate Live tomorrow, and the Discussions with David broadcast Wednesday through Friday. And you can tune in at 10 a.m. Pacific, noon Central, 1 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. GMT, 7 p.m. Central European Time, some awkward middle of the night in Australia or China. But every weekday, that's happening live stream and also archived in podcast form as well. If you want to tune in, and we'll be talking about what's going on in the world and all that. And so thanks for listening. Don't pay the rent. See you here in cyberspace. See you in the streets. I got a new album out, which you can find on Bandcamp and sometime eventually in the next few weeks on the various streaming platforms. And it's called Notes from a Failed State. And you can stream it for free, and I hope you enjoy it. And I will see you soon. Bye-bye for now.